Hey everybody, I just wanted to give some quick thoughts on Crimson Desert, the new role-playing game that just dropped on pretty much everything. And I have to say, I'm enjoying what I've played so far. Now I'm only a few hours in, and I've just made it past the tutorial. I guess you could call it a tutorial. It's not as hand-holdy as a normal tutorial, but I've made it through those first missions and through that first major portal, the abyss portals. I made it through that first kind of tutorial puzzle, and I have to say I'm having quite a bit of fun with this. The world is gorgeous. I mean, the graphics are absolutely beautiful. Um, but this game is not without its faults. So far, the story seems very shallow. Which, if you know me from a gaming perspective, a great engrossing story to me is secondary. For me, it's more about whether or not the gameplay and the exploration in this kind of game is fun, and it is so far. Now, the gameplay itself, the controls do have a bit of jank to them, but it's the same kind of jank that you would experience with, say, Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto. There's that kind of momentum control where you get running, and then when you change direction there's that kind of delay as he kind of slows, turns, etc. But that's part and parcel to a lot of big open world games like this. Like I said, this is very similar to Red Dead Redemption or GTA style gameplay. There are some other quirks and things to the controls, having to target something using the L button in order to speak with them or to engage, like say when you're going into the tavern to do the arm wrestling. Um, the arm wrestling mechanic, not the greatest. There's some jank there when you're sitting there button mashing the X button. In my case, I'm playing on Xbox, and then having to switch immediately to the A button to try and time this, kind of spinning dial, and trying to hit that just right is a little rough. It's kind of pulled that mechanic from the skill check in Dead by Daylight. But the problem is that by having it be something where you're having to button mash and then switch to another face button, it makes it really difficult to make that transition in a way that feels good. So that's something that I would say is it would definitely need some work, and I would hope that they would patch down the road, which it seems they're pretty responsive to player feedback from everything I'm seeing on social media. So we'll see what kind of refinements come down the road. But if you're a big fan of these kind of big open world RPGs, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this. Just go in with proper expectations that the controls have a bit of that jank to it. Hopefully they'll be refined over time. I do like the combat, even if it is a little frantic and not so much, we aren't talking skill-based to the extreme, like say a Dark Souls, where it's all about parrying and dodging and everything else. But it's not as tight in a way that, say, and I know I'll probably get some guff for it, but, I really like the way the combat felt in Dragon Age Veilguard. I thought that was one of the shining parts of it, was just the combat felt very satisfying. And it's not to say that the combat feels bad in this. It's just very frantic. Like, it's very button mashy. So it's kind of the other extreme. At least that's how it feels right now. I haven't got to a big boss fight, so we'll see how that goes. But as of right now, the combat, is fine. I enjoy it. Like I said, it's very fast paced, very frantic. Not very kind of strategic or skill based, at least that I've run into so far. But it's not that it's not like it's unenjoyable where I'm just like, okay, this is just kind of a slog. It is. I think one of the reviews I saw said when you're going into these kind of lower level battles, it feels very Dynasty Warriors, where you just have this horde of enemies and you're just button mashing and slashing your way through. And it does kind of feel like that. But like I said, it's fun. I enjoy it. So, You know, right now, if I were to give it a star review based on what I played, right now I would give it a solid like 3.5 out of 5. You know, it's very fun. The exploration feels nice. You know, I've just scratched the surface, but you know, I do, you know, want to continue exploring in this world and seeing what other stuff comes up. Um, you know, are there some things that I do wish that it had that I like having as somebody who is, you know, working full time and squeezing in gaming where I can? You know, do I wish it had some of those kind of quality of life things for people who, you know, can't just immediately plop down and sink 100 hours into it? Yeah. You know, would I like the ability to, you know, have a, you know, I know it gets a lot of guff, but the, you know, you hit a button and the yellow trail pops up guiding you to where you're going next. Yeah, sure, I would like that. It makes my life easier as somebody who works full time to, you know, be able to kind of move through a game a lot faster. But there's nothing in here that really, you know, takes me away from being able to enjoy it. That's just me personally, given my time constraints with gaming. But you know, I do think that this is an enjoyable game. It does make me want to play more and explore more of that world, and that's really all you can ask for from these, you know, giant open world games. So definitely recommend it. Definitely say check it out, and I will see you in the next video.